Hello everyone, this is Sherry and this is Blue and you're watching Lessons Learned. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Bear Paw Quilt with the honeybee inspired fabric. And as you've probably already seen on some of my videos, here's my first block that I constructed. And today I'm going to show you how to cut your fabrics and arrange your fabrics. I'm not going to actually do any cutting. I'm just going to show you what you need to cut and how many. So I have laid on this board, kind of like a work board of all the pieces that I need to construct that particular block. And then the successive blocks with the different patterns of print here on the fabric. So I have went ahead and cut one layer cake piece in all of these different patterns, and these are each individual. There's not more than one layer cake 10 by 10 piece in here. These are all individual ones. So I have my one done already with this fabric, which is unique to all of these. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If I decide to make it bigger than 12 blocks, which is a possibility, I'll have to lay out my finished blocks and see which ones I want to repeat of these, or if I want to use a very small print, like for example if I wanted to use something like this, which as of right now I'm not using those all over, you might call blender pieces. I'm using the more dramatic designs on these. So I'll construct all of these first and then see if I want to add more blocks, and if so, which ones of these do I want to repeat, or do I want to use a blender piece as this square right here. Alright, so now you need to cut these in 4.5 inch squares, and you can easily get 4 squares is what you need for a whole block out of one 10-inch piece. You only have about a 1/2 inch or so here that's left over from all the way around, so that's not very much waste. It's almost not enough to be a crumb. And then you need to cut in white if that's the background you chose. You need to cut 3.5 inch squares, and you need to cut a supply of 3.5 inch black, and those will make your half square triangles for your claws. And then also you need these 2.5 by 6.5, a supply of those in your background fabric, which is this, and this. And then you need a supply of white 2.5 by 2.5, which are these. And then you also need a supply of center blocks, cornerstone, but it's not a corner, 2.5 inch. Now you can use one of your prints like I did here, or you could just use black. So I cut up one whole 10-inch layer cake piece to get these, so I'm going to use all of those first. I think I have another piece of this if I want to continue consistently throughout the whole quilt, or you could do some just plain black if you just want plain black in there to make it very symmetrical with the black. That's kind of what that would look like, and that would be good too. That's what I was going to do, and that's why I do have a supply of these, but midstream I changed my mind, and you can do that. You can change your mind. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put together little packets like this with my little wonder clips. This is my center block, these are my outer corners, these are my sashing, and then these are my black and white for my half square triangles, and then of course my paws. Okay, so you're going to need 4 of these. You're going to need 8 of these and 8 of these. And you'll need 4 of these and then 4 of your outer whites, cornerstones, and 1 center. So if you arrange them in groupings like that, you can just grab one and sew it whenever you have time. Or you can leave them sit out on a board like this, but I think it would be nice to just go ahead and count out the 8 that you need of each of these, the 4 of these, the 4 of these, and this one, and then your colored square here. So I hope that helps you get organized with your project, and I look forward to seeing you at the sewing machine, where I'll be actually showing the sewing of the blocks. Okay, so here we are at the machine. I've got my individual blocks ready to be sewn together. So I've just taken one of these apart and laid it out. The part that is missing here are my half square triangles. So I'm going to do those first. And all I'm going to be doing here is making a mark down let's see, from one corner to the other. So get them as straight as you can. It's not super important that you get them exact because you have almost an extra ½ inch all the way around or more to trim once we get these done. So I have my have a pencil and a small ruler, and what I'm going to do is just do what I just said and make a line down through here. So you're making 8 of those. You remember you had 8 white and 8 black, and that's going to make a total of 16 toes or claws, bear claws all the way around. So here's my mark on there. Just did it in pencil. You could do it in friction pen, whatever you want. It's going to be cut right down through there, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead, and I got my window open. It's breezy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sew down the left side a 1/4 inch from this line, and then turn it around and do the other side. And I can actually chain piece all of these if I go ahead and make my mark. So I think I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I was thinking too that you could go ahead and mark all these lines before you even put your little packets together. And that would be one step you wouldn't have to do at the sewing machine. Either way. So I'm going to go ahead and chain piece these. Like I said, I'm going to go 1/4 inch from the left hand side, turn it around and do the other side. But I'm going to do a bunch of chained ones first, and then turn it around and go up the other side. So you want to use a 1/4 inch foot on your machine, so it makes it easy to measure down through there without thinking too much about it. So you don't even have to cut your threads. You can just switch that whole row of chain piece stitches over. Just pull your thread out a little bit to get started, and head down the side of that line we drew on the left side again. Okay, so there is our chained piece. You can see the stitching on both sides of the line that I drew on the front. You can see it really good on the black there. So now what I'm going to do is cut these apart, and also cut on my line that I drew with the scissors, or if you're at the your OFA mat and cutter, you can do it there. I actually have snips that I'm going to use to snip them apart. And then I have a little bit of an OFA cutter here that I'm going to use to cut those apart with my rotary cutter. Okay. So I'm using just this and just a regular little 6-inch ruler with my teeny tiny OFA cutter. Doesn't matter which one you have. Whichever one you have, use it. And I'm going to cut right across where that drawn line is on the white. You can do it with your scissors as well. It's not critical that it's razor sharp. Razor sharp as in laser straight. But, you know, just cut that line. Cut right through it. Okay, got those all cut through. Now we've got half square triangles. But before we get to pressing those, we need to trim them down to a 2.5 inch half square triangle. How am I going to do that? Well, I have this dandy tool. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it has 1.5 inches, 2.5, and on down to 6.5, and we're wanting a 2.5 inch. So I'm just going to lay my, here, it's right here. Whoops, you can see in the trees outside, aren't you? Let's see if I can find a spot where you can see it. Let's see, how about over here? So I'm going to lay my stitched line on that 2.5 inch dotted line and cut the two opposing sides to that seam side. Okay. Pay attention right here. Okay, so I'm going on my 2.5 inch dotted line. I think I'm going to be able to see it better on the white side. So I'm going to turn it over. And I've got plenty I can trim off here. So all I have to do is go up the middle there to the tip and then back down the other side. Oops. One little snag there. Okay. So that makes us a perfect 2.5 inch block. Okay. Now you're going to have to cut off these dog ears. You can manually do that. Or if you have this tool, which by the way is called a Clearly Perfect Slotted Trimmer, it actually has an area where you can cut the dog ears off if you leave it under there. Like I could put it down to the 2.5 inch line on my stitch line again. And just go ahead and cut those dog ears off. Handy little tool. So that's really what you want to end up with before you open it and iron it. Now I have my iron up here, my teeny tiny iron, and I have a teeny tiny spot to iron it in to show you. So you can iron it open or you can iron it towards the dark side. Since we're dealing with black, I'm going to point it towards the dark side. And you don't want to do a whole lot of stretching and pulling on these. Just gently press it down. And there you have it. I still have a little bit of a dog ear there, which I can trim off and should trim off, because this will be going on to another block. So look, there's one of our toes. So I have a whole bunch more of these to do that too. So let's get going. Okay, so half square triangles are done. That's one of the most labor intensive parts of each block. Putting it together, once you've got those made, it's not too bad. So the next step is to put these two together and these two together, these two together, these two together. We'll attach those to the center of the paw. Here, here, and here. That's the next step. So let's do that. So we got to put these two together first, right? So let's just fold those over and make a 1/4 inch seam. And while we're at it, we'll just chain piece. And there's our chain pieced HSTs. So I'm just going to clip those apart. And then on each one, since there's more black here, instead of opening that up, I'm just going to push it up to, I'm going to push the entire seam up to that black triangle there. And give it a press. There you go. So now we have to figure out, where does that one go? I think it goes right there. I'll do that with the rest of them. Okay, there we go. So now it's this side to this side, this side to this side, those two together, and these two together. So let's just go ahead and chain piece those. Now you will notice sometimes you lose just a little bit because you've got all these seams in here. So just kind of, you know, maneuver it to where you get it mostly the same size. You don't want one end hanging over more than the other, then you'll come up short on one end. But if you just play with it a little bit, it comes out the exact same size. So let's go sew. Okay, so there's our chain of those. I'm going to cut those apart and put them back where they belong. You think I'll get them back in the same place that they were? We shall see. Alright, so this time we're going to take that seam and press it toward the center, towards your big block. I think that's what I did, or did I open it? Pretty sure I put it towards the center. Yeah. I don't know if that goes there, but that's, it will work. Okay. Go there. There we go. I was just checking something. Okay, so now what do we have left to do? Well, what fits on this? We're going to have to put these two together and then this one to go on here. And that will finish up our bear paw and claw, the entire foot. So we'll do that on all 4 of those. I'm just going to chain piece these 3. Changing my mind. I'm going to chain piece these half square triangles first. And then I'll chain piece the 4 white corner squares onto these after I cut them apart. If you see an easier way to do that than the way I'm doing it, go for it. Just as long as you can get 2 sides the same length together by the time you're finished, you've done the right thing. So we'll iron these towards this one, because that's the most black. Probably could have chain pieced all of these half square triangles to start with, couldn't I have? More than one way to skin a cat, they say. Ugh. And if you don't like chain piecing, just do them one at a time. No sense in being in any big hurry. We'll lose our enjoyment of doing it if you just want to be in a big hurry, but I don't want chain piecing. Okay, so now that means we have to put this on here to be able to get this to go onto this. So we are going to do our cornerstones now. Okay, so we will press that towards this black one. There goes that. Now you can see how that will go onto that one. So let me finish these up. I really got that one in there crooked, didn't I? I got plenty for my quarter-inch seams though, so I'm not going to worry about it. Not going to worry about it. Okay, so now we get to put these onto our main blocks, our main paws. Yeah. Let's chain piece. All right, here we are again, clipping apart our chained pieces. I think I'm gonna open this one. Or should I? Or should I? Should I do it this way? Let's do it that way. Let's do it towards the center, just like we did the other one. Our first completed paw. Okay. Nice. Alright, so the next logical step would be to put this to both of these. So this is going to be I could chain these two. Let's do that. Okay, so let's make that one go in as well. Must be this one. Okay, so now we can do this one to this one, and this one to this one. Alright, so now we just have to construct our middle and attach it to our upper and lower. And push that seam to the center. And then this goes here. Just checking to see this strip is a little bit narrow, so I'm gonna have to watch that when I put this together. Okay, so now this goes to this, and then the bottom will go on the other side of it. And you're gonna want to mind your intersections here and make sure they're gonna line up. Stick a pin in there if you want to, just to be sure. Line up that seam with the underneath seam, and then same thing on this side. Looks like it's going to be just perfect, and there's not much distance there to make a difference, but I just want to show you that you definitely want those to line up out of all of this. I'm going to push this up. Okay, what's left to do? Just attach this, and let's mind these seams again. Got one going one way, one going the other. That's how I ironed them. And make sure the actual seam line where the thread is that you sewn down is touching each other. So I'm going to go ahead and stick a pin there and here again. Here we go. This machine is fast. Sometimes I don't need it to be that fast. But it has no adjustment on it. I wish it did. And I do believe we are just about done with this block here. We are done. We just have to do a little bit of, if I can not get too excited, take these pins out first. And let's just go ahead and iron this down. Actually, that was supposed to go in, wasn't it? Or out. Which one did I do first? This is the hottest one, so it needs to go in. I'm trying to keep those seam allowances off that bright white because they will show through even when your quilt's done. It's not all bad, but if you can avoid some of that, it's a good thing. I'm going to give this another good pressing through here. You could starch it and steam it as well once you get everything worked out with your seams and all. Here I can see that I could use some more pressing. So you're like, get out of the way, I want to see it, right? All right, there it is. There is my second block. And this one has a lot of variation in it because this whole block, 10-inch square, was a scene with a honeybee nest on it and some scrolls and the honeycomb, and there's a crown there like for the queen bee. So this one had a little bit of all the other fabrics design in it. So, oh, the little chain of bees here is so cute. There's a big girl. That's the queen right there. All right, so you can square these up. They're supposed to be 14.5-ish. So don't worry about it if you're off a little bit, just as long as you've got enough not to cut your points off in your seam allowances when you sew the rest of your quilt together. So like right here, I could cut some of that sashing off. Probably should on both sides. Alrighty, so that's how you do it. And so we've got a lot to keep us busy. We're going to be busy bees making our bear paws. I've got 10 more to do here. So let's get sewing, and I'll see you back on the next episode.